Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
Whoa. What is up? I'm Jared Welch, Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, February 29th, and this is Blinkers Off. What's up, man?
What's up, everybody? Yeah, good to be back here. A big, for prep weekend, sort of. I don't know if you really count one as a Derby prep race. We'll get into that. But, yeah, man, what a kind of relief it is to get through February and on to March, because it got a little shaky there for a while. But we're on to March, so we're excited.
Yeah, don't get ahead. I mean, we still have one day left. Don't get ahead of yourself. But by the time that, we're talking about all the racing we're talking about, it will be into March. Fingers crossed we can. I mean, because really from here on out, it's game on, right? I mean, the Rebel started things off, I feel like. I mean, but then you've got, all these horses are at the stage now where it's like you either are or you aren't. You're either going towards the Derby or you're not, and we're going to find that out over the next couple weeks, really. We had some technical. I had some technical difficulties over here. We started to go. We're getting ready to spread, and Halterman's like, "Yeah, I can't hear you, dude." So I had to get a new mic cord. Apparently, my mic cord was damaged. So that was the delay of getting started. But I'm here. Almost a baby face. I trimmed her up a little bit, guys. Yep. So the boys. I don't know. The boys weren't huge fans of it. I don't know. It's almost like they didn't like the beard to start, like a long time ago, and now it's like, Dad, what are you doing? Don't change it. So I don't know. I just tried to change things up, but you know how that goes, Halterman. You've been trimming yours up, I know, over the last couple of years.
Yeah. No, I have. I haven't had the beard growing experience in my life yet, so I don't know,
right? Like most guys, at least have one phase of their life at some point where at least like it's sort of a thing, whether it be a goatee, whether it be a beard, a mustache, whatever. But yeah, you stayed straight laced the whole all 40 years of your life here.
Yeah, pretty grounded, I think, mentally. I think that's what it comes down to more than anything else. I haven't had any issues in my life where you know what, gotta grow the beard today, so
COVID didn't do it for you?
No. I liked COVID. I miss COVID a little bit. So,
you don't hear that statement very often.
No, you don't.
Underrated that COVID. Yeah,
it was.
Oh man, wow.
Wasn't that bad?
You heard it here, guys. Halterman. Racing dudes love COVID. Well, yeah. Technically, I guess that would be accurate. But hey, so no beard for Halterman. But hey, before we get into kind of today's show, let's do a little, I don't know if recap is the best word, but a little, let's digest a little bit of what we saw last weekend. And I think the two glaring questions I have for you, and maybe just in general racing, is one, is Timberlake good? I think that's let's just say, is Timberlake good, and is Forever Young as good as we thought going into that race? I mean, he did win, but what did you leave out of those two races, out of the Rebel win with Timberlake and the Saudi Cup over there for Forever Young? Like, did either one move up or down for you after those performances?
Yeah, don't care about the Saudi Cup at all, or Saudi Derby, I should say. Saudi Derby, don't care about it, and that's not because of Forever Young. It's just like that race is really weird. It's a weird race. It's a mile. It's a weird stretch. I mean, all kinds of things. I think any win. It's kind of like any win is a good win, right? I think Forever Young winning that race is a good victory for him for sure. But like I kind of said in a couple of messages after it, it's like he could have won by 100 or he could have lost. I don't really care. I'm going to judge him in the UAE Derby, just like Dermot Sotogate. And I quickly to point out, Dermot Sotogate lost that race, talking about the Saudi Derby, and then did come back to do what he did at UAE Derby, which either furthers my point that race really, it's kind of fun to watch it, but I don't really take it all that seriously. I could pick apart some things he did that are going to get him beat in the Derby, but the bottom line is it doesn't really factor in until we kind of see what's going to happen in that next race for him. So I'm just on pause with him, basically. Timberlake, I don't really know what else you really wanted from him. I thought it was a really good race. I don't think he's like some kind of monster horse. I don't think that at all. But I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. He did it as good as a lot of these preps we've seen so far. I have no idea if he can win the Derby, if he's that kind of horse, but I just took his Rebel for what it was. Good performance. He did everything pretty much right, and I think he can move on to whatever's next.
Yeah, I haven't really understood there's a lot of people that I've talked to. It's like I don't quite understand the high or the kind of the shits. I don't know if shits, but just like the critical factor of it with him. It's like, well, what did you want him to do? Because most of the people that were that way were not were against him going into it, right? And so then he does that, and then it's like, well, that field wasn't very good, or what he didn't look at him. Going longer, give me a break, and just like, well,
yeah,
all those could be fair going longer. We don't know a lot of these horses, but at the end of the day, one, what have we seen from horses that are eligible that gives you any much more confidence than that, right? And two, I mean, what did you want him to do? Like, what did he need to do for you to be like, oh wow, I was wrong?
Really, there was nothing he could have done. The people that didn't like him going in weren't going to ever like him going out unless he lost. And then,
And
so that they could
completely
brag
fair,
on.
I'm like you. I'm not like huge Timberlake, right? I'm
No.
not like, wow, that was a great performance. I love him now. But at the same time, I'm not like down on him either. I just think it is what it is.
It is what it is. Could win the Derby this year.
Yeah,
That's kind of the thing. Like, you look at him and go, well, what was better, Timberlake or Hades? I don't know. Probably about the same, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Timberlake. I don't know. Like, as far as just like comparing the Risen Star winner and the Rebel winner, I couldn't really sit here and say one was vastly more impressive than the other. I know who I kind of want going forward. That's a different discussion. But if you're just looking at the Rebel, it looked a lot like every other prep we've had, aside maybe from Nisos, who doesn't count, and Mystic Dan, who was otherworldly the day he ran. But these other ones, I mean, Timberlake kind of looks just like him, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't, like you kind of said it, but it's kind of like with both of those races on Saturday with Forever Young and Timberlake, it's like, well, I went into the race thinking they might be pretty good and kind of left the race thinking they might be pretty good, but you're not like you said, you're waiting another race on Forever Young. And with Timberlake, it's like, well, that was his first race back. There's a lot of positive signs out of that, but you still have to answer the question of facing a tougher field. Obviously, he didn't do well in the Breeders' Cup facing a tougher field. So it's like, could he win? Could either one of those win? Sure, but at the end of the day, I didn't leave Saturday saying like, oh, that's my Derby horse.
No, me neither. And I was excited to watch Forever Young, and I thought he overcame a lot and still won. And again, like, maybe after the UAE Derby, I could say that's my Derby horse, but I can't say with confidence right now that he's going to win the Derby, and certainly not with Timberlake either. But I think the good news about those two statements, if you like those horses to win the Derby, I can't say that that's my Derby horse about anybody that I've seen in 2024. That's just the facts of it. And again, like, yeah, everybody's like, that Rebel field, it was so bad, and it definitely was, but he didn't nose him out. I mean, he was a pretty clear win. I mean, once he kind of got going, you're like, yeah, he's going to win this race,
Yeah.
Maybe if somebody was, I saw a comment once and about, they're talking about Nisos. They're like, I wish he could just beat some of the better horses or some of the good horses. And I posed the question of who's a good horse? I think the comment was real. I wish he could beat a real horse. I was like, well, who are the real horses? Right? Like, Nisos didn't beat anybody, but who is beating anybody, I guess is my point. Like, who are the real horses? I'm not 100% sure we know that yet.
Yeah,
like if Nisos beats Track Phantom, do we now believe that he's beaten a good horse? Is Track Phantom a good horse? I don't know that we know that,
Well, one, I've never been a huge proponent of that conversation of like, well, who's he beat kind of thing. Because it's
Mhm.
like at the end of the day, I mean, if they're barely beating, like if they're all out beating these horses by a nose, by a head, or whatever, that's one thing. But when they're just kind of cruising home, similar to what Timberlake did, if not better, when and they're still beating them, I don't hold that against them, right? Because it's like,
Right.
well, they can only face of who they're facing. But this year, I don't know how. Like, who are we? Who are we looking for them to be? Like
Yeah.
that, I don't know really. And then the ones that are running out west that ideally you could have Sierra Leone run against Nisos or whatever. No, that's not going to happen. But ideally, something like that would happen, so you could say, oh well, that horse is pretty good, right?
Mhm.
Because we know Nisos is really good.
Yeah.
But we can't do that. We're not going to do that. So you really aren't going to know at
Uh-uh.
all.
No, you're not. And I feel like one thing about it, like
Yeah, who's the measuring stick? Rob says, like that's as far as horses that we can actually see compared to one another. I don't know who it is.
honestly, a couple of things. The way I'm seeing it right now, okay, Fierceness came back and ran horrific. We saw that, but Muth came back to win. Timberlake came back to win. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile might be kind of the measuring stick type horses.
Yeah.
Yes, Fierceness came back to run poorly. Maybe Lock comes back to run poorly, but what if Locked comes in and finishes top 2, let's say, or even top 3, runs a good race, okay, whatever that is, and then you got Timberlake that won, you've got Muth that came back to win. Those might become the measuring sticks of, okay, this was the 2-year-old crop. They still look like they're kind of towards the top. Can anybody topple them? I think that's kind of where you're kind of looking at. But there's problems to even that comment because we saw Fierceness come back and just, how do you even describe him at the moment? It's not like he lost because the Breeders' Cup sucked. No, he lost because he's just weird. And where is Muth? More importantly, supposed to run in the Rebel. Then he was supposed to run in San Felipe. He's in neither one of them.
Is he going to be like the Arabian Night of this year that we just don't see him, or really Arabian Lion, I guess, for that matter.
I don't know, but like that, he seems like he was kind of a measuring stick horse in a way going into the Breeders' Cup. It's like, we know what he is. He's pretty good. He's not going to be crazy good, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, now he's gone. So we don't even have him, I guess is what I'm saying. And to that point, it's kind of funny. I saw a lot of people being like, hey, Forever Young beating Bookham Dano with things going wrong at a mile. That's really good. And then I saw another camp of people going, he can't even beat Bookham Dano by more than a nose. So even like him, it's debatable, right? It's very debatable. Like who is Bookham Dano? We don't really know. We saw him at Tampa. He looked great, but that's Tampa. We've seen him get beat in a race maybe he should have won. So I don't know. I think it's a pretty good win for Forever Young, but it's still not like totally sold one way or the other.
Daryl, welcome, by the way, to get in here. Appreciate you joining us for the show. Yeah, so Halterman is Aaron and I are the ones that started Racing Dudes years and years ago. I mean, gosh, Halterman, what has it been? 12 years ago, maybe. We've been full-time, 10 of them, maybe. And so, anyways, Halterman, all the picks you see on the site, for the most part, other than like some of the best bets or like Soma Bombs, are done by Halterman there over there. So he does all the picks. He's the lead handicapper of the site. So, some products, him and I, like the betting Bible this weekend. If you haven't seen that, Daryl, you can go get that in the shop. But that's something that him and I do together. So you'll see my picks separate to his picks. But any picks you see on the site, like all the free picks we have throughout the site, that's all done by Halterman, and they're all handpicked. There's no computers, nothing like that. All handpicked. Halterman is he's kind of psychotic about it, to be honest with you. So, but yeah, he's our guy. All right, so I guess, and honestly, dude, what sucks is because this is a good weekend. I mean, on paper, well, it's not even on paper. On paper, at the beginning of the year, this is a good weekend. Like now, but now you're looking at it and saying, well, the San Felipe is an absolute joke. I mean, a joke to the highest regard.
Yeah.
And then the Gotham is no horse has even won the Gotham won the Derby out of the Gotham since like Secretariat. And
Yeah.
so it's like, okay, that race is whatever. And then you got the Battaglia, okay. And then the Fountain of Youth, that's the one, right? And I mean, there's a few in there. I do think the Fountain of Youth has some potential to be horses like that are somewhat legit. That one might be a nice race to kind of use as a measuring stick. But yeah, man, the San Felipe. I guess we can discuss that quickly here. But the San Felipe, man, what a joke! I mean, it's just turned into an absolute. And then they moved it to Sunday, and it's like 3 out of the 5 are Bafferts, and they can't even get points. Like, where are the horses?
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, the San Felipe is just it's not really a Kentucky Derby prep race. It's just a kind of a horse exhibition for Nysos, really. And even if he wasn't in there, that's 3 out of the 5 Bafferts, and like, okay, you're not going to beat them. So you got these other 2 that are just going to get the scraps, basically. So Santa Anita really doesn't have a Kentucky Derby series this year. If you remember, they canceled the Sham. Okay, and then they replaced it with a San Vicente. They just moved it up earlier on the card. Muth wins. That's Baffert horse. It wasn't points anyway, but still, Baffert wins it. They run the Robert B. Lewis. Baffert runs first and second. They're going to run the San Felipe. Baffert's probably going to run 1-2 again, maybe 1-2-3. So is this really a Kentucky Derby like prep series this year at Santa Anita? No, it is not. So it's sad to see, and I don't know if the Santa Anita Derby is really going to change that, dude. I don't think so. So it sucks. But yeah, I think on a positive note, Turfway's having a really good meet. That's a pretty good field. The Gotham is a pretty darn good field. I don't know if they're Derby horses, but it's a fun race. Good horses. I think they're good horses, seriously, in there going maybe a mile or less. And then we have a great Fountain of Youth. I really believe that. Whether it ends up being great, you never know until they run them. But on paper, that is a very intriguing Fountain of Youth. So there are positives of this weekend for sure. But yeah, Santa Anita is it's a real negative. And at this point, I don't know if it's coming back. And that's kind of the first time I've ever said that. I kind of feel like Santa Anita, it's in trouble. Like, this is the first time I've really thought, oh man, this is getting really bad.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's and like they can't even run a race if there's like just the inkling of rain. It's just like they can't because they're so careful with the track. And yeah, it's just it's hard to get excited about Santa Anita really at all, right?
It's gotten to the point, and I hate this, where a lot of days it's really, really hard to put together product for Santa Anita because the fields are so short. It's hard to really play it day to day. And that's crazy because when I first started we back all the way in 12, but when we really started putting out product in 15, they were running Wednesday through Sunday.
Yeah.
And now they're running Friday through Sunday.
And they still can't get fields filled.
And they still can't get any kind of fields. And on them canceling, look, I'm just going to bottom line it for you. You can hate it all you want, and that's fine. That's your opinion. Back in 2019, Santa Anita had major problems with horses dying. It almost got the whole thing shut down. They had to shut down forever. And a big part of that was because of weather. They may have overcorrected, but they're just not going to risk it anymore. And so on one hand, it's like, well, this is weird that everywhere in the country we're running where it's raining except for there. But on the other hand, if it's going to keep them from getting horses broke down, I kind of just have to go with it. And I hate that, but it doesn't really bother me as much as some.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't necessarily. My biggest issue or complaint is just the field, right? If the field's a 10-horse field and there's a Sadler and some Mandela horse, whatever, like then it's like, okay, well, I can wait. I can wait till Sunday. I get it, but I think it's just a combination of it's like, oh, I get to wait till Sunday to see 3 horses can't get points, and that's the other thing. That's not even Santa Anita's fault necessarily. That's bigger, with Churchill and Baffert not getting points. I mean, this race at least becomes a little more exciting if hey, this horse could get 50 points to the Derby and lock himself in. He's the legit Derby horse or whatever. So then you have that aspect as well. So not all of it is Santa Anita's fault to regard, but I think just the general, where are the horses question mark? Because like you mentioned, and you also mentioned in the video, like they literally got rid of a race to try to make this race stronger. And you end up with 3 out of 5 horses that are Baffert. It's just, I don't, it's scary. To me, it's a scary picture for what's ahead. I don't know where the horses and dude, like it's not. I mean, you look at the horses that have come through out west over the years. The last 10 years, like Derby, Triple Crown winners. I mean, and I get those were Baffert horses, but we've even had like California Chrome, Nyquist, horses like that came from out west that are not. I mean, where did they all go?
I don't know, because I mean, you think when Justify was running, Bolt Dioro was out there to challenge him. So we've had horses in the past, like Practical Move last year was kind of the king out there, and I don't get it, and I'm with you. There are a lot of other trainers out there not named Bob Baffert. Where are their horses?
Yeah,
where are they? Well, I don't know.
And you can't tell me. I mean, we know we've seen them. We know there's bigger horses that these trainers get. They're 3-year-olds.
And the most odd thing about it, when we get to Del Mar in the summer, they'll run those 2-year-old maiden special weights, and they'll have 10 horses in them every time. And then you get to Santa Anita, you literally get 3-4 months down the road, and they try to cart a 2-year-old race, and there's like 4 or 5, and it's like, where are they all going? I don't know. I don't have the answers.
I don't know. That seems like a bigger issue at hand.
For sure.
But anyways, so let's get into today's show because we'll talk more about the San Felipe. We'll talk about the main event of the weekend. We'll give picks and we'll preview the $400,000 Fountain of Youth Stakes at Gulfstream Park. It's a 50-point race towards the 2024 Kentucky Derby. Then we'll give some rapid fire selections for the 3 remaining Derby preps. We mentioned the San Felipe at Santa Anita, the Gotham at Aqueduct, and the Battaglia at Turfway Park. Let's go. Should Peter Urton change horses' names during the court? Yeah, look at that.
I don't think Storm the Court could win that race. Has he won? He may have won. He may have finally won a race. Let me see something. I can't remember if he ever actually won a race after that juvenile or not. He did. No, he hasn't, I don't think. Wow. No. So that horse won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile in his 4th start and then has lost his last 20.
That's where all the horses are at. They can't.
And he's been running at Tampa, Horseshoe, Indianapolis, Churchill. Well, those are bigger tracks there. Wow. Crazy.
All right, guys. Saturday at Gulfstream Park, race 14, the Coolmore Fountain of Youth Stakes, Grade 2, race 400K, going mile 16th. This, of course, is for 3-year-olds, and it is a Kentucky Derby point race, 50, 25, 15, 10, 5 for your top 5 finishers. And, we alluded to it. We've got a nice field here, a field of 9 with Speakeasy is going to run in this race. I did hear that Merritt will scratch out and run. There's a Friday allowance race that some of these horses were double entered in. That's a nice allowance field that we'll see some horses that we'll probably see in whether it be the Florida Derby or wherever in the final preps. But this race, so we are going to get scratched down at least to a field of 8. It looks like, unless you know of any other scratches. But Merritt is going to come out. But you do have Locked making his return to the track, his 3-year-old debut after kind of running a weird race in the Breeders' Cup. I mean, he was never winning. He almost got second. It was literally out of the picture until he wasn't of that race. And obviously had a nice campaign prior to that. So what he is, scratched out of Tampa, came to this. We'll see what he is about. You also have Dornick, kind of what's he about, at 2-1. Victory Avenue, the big kind of the horse that got a ton of hype over the Speakeasy race, and of course Speakeasy won the big prize. So those two coming out of that, lots of storylines in here, Alterman.
Big time storylines. I think you can make a case for a lot of them. That's what makes a good race. Look, I think you just kind of have to make a decision of like, look, am I going to kind of ride what that Breeders' Cup Juvenile has been doing? And again, for fierceness aside, Muth came back to run well. Timberlake came back to run well. I think Locked will come back to run well. Are you going to go the Dornoch angle, or are you going to go crazy and try? Maybe not crazy is not the right word. I shouldn't have said that. But are you going to go a little bit different than the top two? And I think that's kind of the debate. I looked into Speakeasy for a long time. I couldn't do it. I think it's too hard of an ask. Victory Avenue, same kind of thing. Too tough of an ask. I thought about Real Macho, the 4-horse, for a long time. I'm not 100% sure what happened in that allowance to Born Noble that where Real Macho won, though, so I couldn't do it. End of the day, I circled back to Locked, the 8-horse here to win. I really like Locked last year. I thought he ran very well. I thought once he kind of got going in the juvenile, he ran pretty darn well. I just kind of think if he kind of progresses, kind of runs that type of race, plus a little progression from 2 to 3, I think he's going to win. I like number 8 Locked on top.
Yeah, I'm with you on Speakeasy. I think he's in a little trouble unless he's just the goods of goods. And the fact that like they were kind of on the fence with where we're going to run him kind of thing was like, well, they may have, kind of, they don't really know if like how good he is going to be. And off the maiden win, it's like, so for me that, drawing the rail probably gives him the biggest chance, but it also means he's going to have to just go, right? He's going to have to go, and it's not like there's not any other pressure in this race. Dornoch is another one that's got plenty of speed. And then you have the horse that he beat last time out, Victory Avenue, who was on the lead in that race and had a ton of hype that day. And so that, I just feel like it's a lot to ask drawing that inside post. So I'm with you on Speakeasy, especially at 9-2. Listen, I'm having a hard time with this one because Locked is the most logical horse of the race. Like, not even really question. He's classy, back-to-back grade 1 races. One of them he won, third in the other one. I'm just with the layoff and his style where he kind of comes out of the, way out. Like I don't know that, like, is he going to get involved in the race earlier? If he can, then that makes me like him a little more. But I'm concerned that it's going to be one of those instances where it's like, wow, he ran pretty well, but he just left himself too much to do, kind of thing. And so I'm hesitant on taking him at too short of a price.
No, it makes total sense. It does make sense. I understand kind of your issue with that, especially at Gulfstream. But
yeah,
it's not like closers never win on that track either. I kind of think that sometimes can be a little bit overhyped. I mean, you kind of look at Mage. He didn't have a whole lot of a problem getting up there and getting second last year. Forte came from out of it, both of his wins last year. I mean, you think about Senior Buscador, if not for a Baffert that just didn't inexplicably stop, he would have won the Pegasus by like 5 or 6. So I think if Locked is good enough, he can overcome kind of coming from out of it. I think also with Speakeasy in the race, to me, I don't think Dornoch's going to have an easy trip because I think Speakeasy's going to be out there with them. And I kind of think if Locked is good enough, I think he'll get the pace. For me, it was more the debate of, is he really good enough? I'm like, is this horse good enough to beat Dornoch, who also I think's a nice one, right? So that was kind of the more of the debate between in my head. But the more I kind of looked at it, and I know I get Dornoch beat Sierra Leone, but I'm still not totally sold on Sierra Leone. So that was kind of I kept pausing. I was like, okay, yeah, he did beat Sierra Leone, but is that horse really that good? And I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I'm very much on the wait and see, with Dornoch, and maybe we'll find out. His numbers aren't bad, but there's a group of horses in this race that have higher speed figures than this guy does, and you look at that last effort in the Rimson. Yes, he won. Yes, he beat Sierra Leone. I mean, it was close, right? It was. I don't know. Like I need to before I take a short price on him as well. Listen, I kind I'm and on paper it doesn't really make a lot of sense, other than the fact that I think he's gonna have the tactical advantage in this race, and I think he might turn the tables a little bit here and take the maiden on the 3 Victory Avenue. The fact that Delgado, which of course trainer of Mage, went the same route last year. Of course, he won the maiden special weight on debut, but then went fourth. I think he was third or fourth, and then he ran a good fountain or a Florida Derby, and then of course won the Derby. But the fact that he's off of that race, like, listen, they went so fast. He went 22 and 44. They flew debut. The horse got a ton of hype, especially when you had a horse like Speakeasy in the race and just got left alone on the board. So obviously a ton of hype, an arrogant. So obviously stretching out it's probably the ideal situation. Just got a lot of confidence that, hey, they're shipping him or they're bringing him back here after that maiden special weight, loss, and going to run him again. I think that tells me that they like him quite a bit. And you get John Velasquez, obviously a great rider. I think he's going to be able to sit the right trip this time around and a smart ride. And so Victory Avenue, I think, has a lot of talent. So I expect him to run better, and I like the stretch out. So the key for me is let's not see. I mean, he's not going to be bet like he was last time with who's in this race, but I need to see every bit of that 4-1. Every bit.
Isn't it interesting that he's 4-1 and Speakeasy is 9-2?
Yeah, another sign that, like, man, the hype is so big on this horse.
Yeah,
like, and maybe that flips. It should flip, really. I mean, but yeah, if he's sitting there at 3-1 or God forbid 5-2 or something crazy, Victory Avenue, then obviously I'm not taking a maiden to win the Grade 2 Florida or a Fountain of Youth at that price. But if he's 4-1, 5-1, floats up any, like, yeah, I would take a shot on that versus taking a short price on Dornick, taking a short price on Speakeasy, and taking a short price on Locked.
Yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense. It definitely makes sense. And look, you kind of talked about it. Victory Avenue was the horse in that race, and that was a loaded race. I mean, and he was such the horse that Speakeasy went off at 8-1, which is crazy. Pletcher IRAD first time starter 8-1.
Yeah.
Some interesting things to kind of keep an eye on. The third place finisher of that race is coming back on Saturday. So we'll run in a maiden special weight on Saturday, Big City. The fifth place finisher also going to be in that same maiden special weight. And then you got to mention Corporate Power, the fourth place finisher. That was a horse that had a lot of trip trouble, came back to win pretty convincingly, if I can talk, in his next start. So that looks, I mean, okay, on paper, the fourth place finisher comes back and really looks nice in a nice victory. The third place finisher is probably going to be a favorite in a maiden special weight on Saturday. That helps your cause if you like those top two finishers, either one, Speakeasy or Victory Avenue. It kind of is starting to show, and again, it's early, and we don't know for sure yet, right? But it's kind of starting to show we've got some horses here that were hyped that look like they're going to run well out of that race.
Yeah, not just run well, but they're going to run well. When you look at certainly the three, I think going to run well going longer. If he can use that speed he has, which obviously he's got plenty of it, and it's not like they went fast and then he got he's on the inside first race, had pressure the whole way around, and still fought on to finish second by a length and a half. It's like if he if Johnny V can get that speed stretched out and kind of tactical, a little more tactical with it, then obviously he's got talent, right? And so I think he becomes very dangerous in a race where he could flip the script. Like, to me, if it was just those two again, like if Speakeasy was like the Pletcher of this race, the Pletcher, I would feel a lot more confident about saying I think he's going to turn the tables on him here. But yeah, I think the fact that you have Dornick in here as well and Locked, it makes it all the more difficult. Like, I could see Victory Avenue beating Speakeasy here. Like, I wouldn't be shocked at all, frankly. But you could also see him running that bigger race and not getting to Dornick or Locked comes and runs him down late. So it does make the race tough, and that's again why I need all of that 4-1.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I should have mentioned also the 6th place finisher from that maiden was second, just barely beaten by the 4th place finisher. So anyway, in that next race, but yeah, look, Victory Avenue to me, I think you're right. I think 4-1 is a problem. I think he's going to float up though. I think you're going to get more than 4-1, and then I think he becomes playable. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a very interesting to see this thing unfold. I really believe, though, again, we've got 3 legitimate speed horses in this race. It seems to set up pretty well for the 8 locked. I think if he's ready to fire, I don't think they're going to hold him off in this one.
You'll be in trouble, and by you, I mean like me, the people that are betting against locked. You'll be in trouble if they are, on the backside and locked is like 3 or 4 links off the he's in like that second tier group right there. Then you're like, oh, okay, that's bad, because when he's all the way out of it, like he was in the juvenile, you go back and watch the juvenile, guys. Because obviously, you need to. It's been a minute, and we have over the last couple of weeks because you've been watching, different horses from that race come back.
Yeah.
And but go watch it, and it's like I was there. We were there. I've seen that replay 1,000 times, and I still was like, that's not. How did he get third? Because he wasn't even like you thought he was something wrong. I mean, even the call at the top of the stretch, it's like locked has to do better because he was. He was well out of it. But then you track him and you watch him the whole way. And again, he was never getting there. But he almost nipped Muth for second. So, I mean, he definitely got to running late in that race. And so it's just, if he can figure out the early parts, he did that on his maiden special weight when he broke his maiden special weight, or broke his maiden, I should say, at Saratoga, his second race out. He set, it was a mile, but he set very close to the pace that day. And then those last 2 races going longer, the mile 16th, he's been way out of it. He's just been completely out of it. Now, it worked in the Futurity. The juvenile just gave him a lot more to do. So, and you could also make that case too, dude. Like, okay, Fierce just ran off the screen, right? So forget him because so you could also say, well, he damn near won the race still, considering Muth got second. You know what I mean? So, you don't want to take too much out against him for that effort as far as, he had too much to do.
Yeah, no, and I agree. It's weird that he could sit right off the pace going a mile, and then when you stretch out to 2 turns, mile and 16th, he can't get up there. It's weird. It's very weird. But
again, like I said, I think you betting him, anybody betting him, you'll feel very confident, I would say. If he's sitting a nice tactical spot, doesn't need to be like on the real close to the pace, because there is plenty of pace in here, but don't be sitting 8-10 links off of it,
Yeah, no, I agree. If he's 10 behind, I'm going to be pretty pissed off. But again, hopefully he's sharp. I mean, you would think he's had a lot of time now, so you think he'd kind of be sharp and ready. That's a hope, and I love the breeding. I don't love the running style, but maybe he can kind of grow up a little bit here, and hopefully he can kind of show us who he is, because he certainly, to me, when I decided I wasn't going to get creative, I really analyzed Door Knock and Locked. I thought Lock was a better horse. So if I said, okay, I'm not going to get creative, I think the 8's better than the 5. So I'm going to take a swing here with not really a swing. I'm just going to take a shot here with the 8 and, see what happens. So 5-2, if we get that, that's good enough for me.
I'm going to say, because of there's one maiden in here. Well, 2 that are, one's just coming off a maiden win. The other one's is still a maiden. You got one other greatest stakes winner, and then obviously Locked. I'm going to go 2.5. I almost said 3.5. But I'll do 2.5, the over-under for horses in this race that will be running in the Kentucky Derby.
Ooh.
2.5.
So many of them have no points.
Loft has, what do you have for charity? 20 or 10?
Yeah, I don't even know anymore.
Do you even have them anymore for that? Maybe you don't.
Yeah, they do. He got points, but I don't know how many it was. I think it's 10.
Maybe it's 10, because I think the Breeders' Cup's 20. So
yeah.
And he got 5 in that one, so he's got like 15 or so, I'd say.
I would say under. I think once you add in injuries and stuff, I'd go under.
Under 2.5. Wow.
Yep. Yep.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna say over. I'm gonna say because I just think. Let me see. Yeah, Locked has 19. I'm sorry, Locked has so he's 12th on the list. I mean, he really just needs to run
Mm-hmm.
decent. But like you said, injuries, and he's a horse. Obviously, had something come up in that last one. Dornick has got 10 already. So to me, when you just need to run okay, even if they don't run, win, and then say whatever one of those, the 3 or the 1 runs good enough to pick up some points, and maybe runs good enough again the next race. So I'll go through. I think the number's 3 for me. So I'll go over the 2.5.
Okay.
But it's close.
I think one comment here from Trish. She said, I like that IRAD is on Speakeasy instead of Locked. Don't think Locked will be ready to win. Last sentence could be very possible. First sentence, IRAD's never been on Locked. So I don't know why I didn't take that as a negative, because why would they put him on him now? Like, Jose's been the jockey for Locked the whole time.
Especially when it's Jose, right? Jose's been the only rider to ride Locked.
Yeah.
And,
so I don't.
And Irad has been, well, the only rider to ride Speakeasy because he's only rode him once, right? But still, like, they're not going to mess with that, obviously.
Yeah.
If there was Trish, if it was an instance like, let's see, I think there was another one that I was. Okay, yeah, this is a good example. Dornick and Victory Avenue.
Yeah.
Saez rode Victory Avenue in that last race. He's ridden Dornick 3 out of his 4 races, including the last 2. And where is he at? He's on Dornick. And I was like, oh, that sucks. If I'm taking 3, so that to me, there's where you have a little more. Okay, that makes that's something to take note of versus kind of what you mentioned. But you are about being locked, not being locked in. I think that's a real thing. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But
he 100% is a candidate of, well, next time type of horse.
For sure.
Yeah.
Totally, for sure. Like the whole he ran he ran so well, but that Dornick just whatever got away with it. And that's the thing too. There's a lot in this race as far as that number goes, the 2.5. Like I feel like this is a race. I mean, Locked seems kind of, again, I'm gonna do it as many times as I can, locked in as a Derby horse, but I mean, we still don't know really what Dornick is, this is a big race for him, and certainly is a big race for Speakeasy and Victory Avenue, right? If Victory Avenue doesn't win, which, let's be honest, is going to be tough, he's still a maiden going into April at that point, right? Because this is the 1st of March, so chances are we don't see him again till April. Do you really try the maiden again in the Florida Derby? Maybe. But still, that's not exactly giving you a ton of confidence. So point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of horses in here that look really good and look promising that may not be anything as it relates to the Derby.
I agree.
It's a big race for all of them, really.
It's huge because, if you think Locked may not be ready to win, you may think that about Dornock too, because this is a long layoff. So,
yeah. I mean, and with those two, like those two certainly, unless they just completely don't run at all, something happens or whatever, those two feel like they're secure and, hey, we're going to see them again in the next spot.
Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, because you do have that built in. But with the 1 and the 3, I mean, these are horses that need to show that they're good enough to run at this level, at this stage of the game. So,
yeah, even the 6, like Lon mentions, Merritt, the 6 horse. I mean, he needs to come up here and run a good race, or he's probably going to go down. He could run an allowance too. He's cross-entered.
So no, that's what I think. See, you never listen to what I have to say on the show. But no, Merritt was scratched, or he's scratching. Staffy said he's scratching with Speakeasy choosing to run here. He's going to run Merritt in the allowance race.
Makes sense.
So I think he was kind of, both of them were probably waiting on what they would do, right? I was really hoping Speakeasy would run here and not against my horse on Friday. So,
well, I think that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think if you're going to try to set him up for the Arkansas Derby, one shot type of thing, that makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you look at the depth of this. I mean, you're going to have to run well to get points in this race, significant points in this race, right? So,
yeah,
makes sense if you're not, if you're not ready. So, all right. I got number 3, Victory Avenue, trying to take an upset here. And Halterman is going with the 8 locked to win the Fountain of Youth.
I think if a maiden wins the Fountain of Youth, you're going to be happy, but you're also going to look at it and go, "Well, a maiden just won the Fountain of Youth."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you could look at it. At least if that happens with that 3, it's like, well, that's been a hyped up horse from the get go.
Yeah.
Maybe he is kind of, maybe he is quote unquote special. So it's better than a 50-1 winning a maiden, where you're like, oh yeah, that's awesome.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Oh man, let's go to. Are the entries officially out yet for Santa Anita? I know that.
I don't think so. Let me look. Overnights are out.
Yeah, we got them.
Oh, they're out. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but we're gonna start with the Gotham. All right, time for Rapid Fire, presented by the Fountain of Youth Betting Bible. That's right. Go get your hands on this at racingdudes.com on the products page. Just click the Get Racing Dudes Premium button at the menu at racingdudes.com. Halterman and I teaming up again for the Fountain of Youth Betting Bible. It's going to cover the entire card, 14 races on the card, as well as the now Sunday San Felipe and the Gotham. So we're covering the 2 of the other major Kentucky Derby races on Saturday and Sunday now. But yeah, those will all be included. Top 4 picks from everybody at racingdudes.com. Halterman's multi-race tickets, pace analysis. I just, if you guys followed on the last one, I completely destroyed. Halterman destroyed on the one before that. We did both destroyed at the Breeders' Cup. It's been a really good run for the Betting Bible. So we're going to be teaming up again here. 40% ROI combined on the last one. So go get the Betting Bible at racingnews.com for the Fountain of Youth. This is a really good card. I know I talked some shit about the Saturday racing, but the card itself at Gulfstream is awesome. It's a really, really good card, a really good betting card with large fields. So, like we just mentioned in the Fountain of Youth, I mean, take your pick with a bunch of those. So, go see who we're playing, how we're betting every single race. Maybe sometimes we skip a race. Even if we do skip a race, we let you know who our bets would be, kind of what exact is, what trifecta is, win bets, whatever. So it's a really good, it's literally what Halter and I are going to be playing on Saturday. So go get your hands on that at racingdudes.com. All right. Let's kick things off here. We're going to do 3 other preps on Saturday. Well, I guess Saturday and Sunday, but we'll do the Gotham Stakes at Aqueduct first. This is race 10. It's a grade 3. We're 300K going 1 mile because, of course, why not start with the 1.8 mile race? And then in March, you go to a mile. And then you go back to mile. What is the Wood? Is it 1.8 mile too?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
yep.
That makes total sense. So the Gotham at a mile for 3-year-olds, 50 points too, nonetheless. 50, 25, 10, 15, 10, 5. So you get 50 points for winning the mile race in March. But Halterman, just a touch. I mean, Brad Cox has got 3 horses in the race, and all of them look, Light Line, I guess, is the one, but, that horse had a hype going in the last race a little bit. But just a touch at 5-2, Bergen at 9-2. 9-2 on deterministic. There's quite some options in here. To me, El Grando cutting back is interesting at 8-1. Just a touch, though. And I'll let you go on to this because I'm going to guess that's your pick. That is mine. That horse looks really good in this race.
Yep, same here. And I think I went with just a touch, just thinking, you know what, he might have just caught a field here that he's just simply better than. And if he breaks well, he can get clear. And I don't think the rest of these are up to snuff as far as he goes yet. The only problem is it is a big ask to go right from a maiden special weight to try to get a graded stakes victory like this. Yeah. But I do think some of these horses, they're not going to be able to really challenge. I do worry a bit about the pace. If it speeds up, I think you're in a little bit of trouble with just a touch, but I think he does have the speed to kind of get clear of most of the other pace horses. And if he does, I don't think they're going to catch him. So I went with a 10 on top. I do really like the 3 and the 13 for Christophe Clement. I think they're going to be dangerous. I also like the 8 a little bit, the other Brad Cox entry, but I like just the touch the most.
Yeah, that was, what do you, because my first thoughts were, well, okay, my first thoughts were this. Like I remember watching him at fairgrounds that day. I was like, damn, that's a nice horse. And are you concerned at all that this is where he ended up? Because sometimes when you get a horse, we've seen Baffert ship horses here. Um, some random sometimes where it's like, yeah, maybe they're not that good, but they're trying to kind of quote unquote steal one here. Brad Cox is, you would maybe say, well, what, could have ran at fairgrounds again, or could have gone to Oaklawn or wherever. Like, thoughts? Was that a process for you to think, well, why is he here? Maybe he's not as good as I thought.
Yes and no. I think anytime that happens and it's not the wood, you do kind of think, well, this is interesting.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to Brad Cox, it's more about timing it right, timing that last race. Where are we going to run last? And I think that's probably what it has more to do with. I mean, we kind of saw him do some weird stuff with Catching Freedom, taking him away. And then, but it's kind of like, okay, where are they going to run last? Let's work backwards from that. I feel like that's kind of what Cox has done over the course of this time where he's had horses on the Derby trail. I mean, you even look at Essential Quality. He runs in the Southwest. The right after Southwest, he goes, okay, we're going to the Bluegrass. It's like, what? But I think it's just, okay, the Bluegrass is where I wanted to run Essential Quality. Let's work backwards from it. He may have a race in mind already for just a touch, and he's working backwards from it. So, but again, I mean, showing up at Aqueduct when it's not April, meaning Wood Memorial Day, it does kind of worry you. Yes. But at the end of the day, I think it's more about timing.
It makes you wonder too with the three. I know there's a lot of chatter in the chat here about that, but Deterministic is a horse that we have not seen since August. And I mean, it was awesome in that race. It was really good. And then literally we haven't seen since. So, that's another horse that I don't really know how you bet, but at 9-2, I mean, I guess he is sort of playable at that, especially if these other horses get some action. But I mean, he's one that he's not typical of Clement, like the layoff plus the sprint to route, and just a lot to ask from that kind of style of trainer to get him to the Derby from here. But I don't know. I thought it was an interesting spot for him to make his return.
It's a ton to ask. I definitely would agree with that. It's a lot to ask of the horse. Maybe he's thinking prep, just a little prep, try to get him a race out, and then we'll get a big shot at that 1.125 wood. That could be what it is. Could be, hey, he's just training great. We're going to give him a shot. I don't know. I think this is a pretty tough ask. It's not like Clement to do that, but that could be a good sign.
I know. That's kind of where I was at too.
Yeah. I mean, I think with him, I am very interested to see how he runs, how he does it. I think even if he doesn't win, if he closes up nice, he looks like he's needed that race to get a little bit sharper, then you feel better about it. So I'm excited to watch Deterministic. I'm not sure he's good enough to actually, I shouldn't say not sure he's good enough. I'm not sure he'll be ready to win a race like this after one race in August.
I really like. I think El Grando with the cutback is going to be tough. That race last time out in the Withers 1.125, obviously didn't want to go that far, but cutting back to that mile where the horse has been very good. The horse obviously really runs well at Aqueduct. So getting 8-1, that's to me more than fair. So if you get anywhere around that, I kind of particularly like playing him underneath, like in an exacta or something, like playing him to get caught late or something like that. So, but I definitely going with the 10 just a touch as well. What? There you go. I don't know that race. I guess we got to do the. Man, I'm gonna go 1.5. I mean, it is a 50-point race, so I'll go 1.5.
I'd agree 1.5. I'd go under, but I think that's the right number. I'd go under though.
I mean, you win 1-2, but the problem is with this race is they're not always going to do anything moving on, and that might end up either hurt or like making that decision like, hey, we're not going to go for the drill, the Kentucky Derby. So
Yeah.
Feels like Just a Touch would be a horse that you could make that case, and then, yeah, man, I think I'm gonna go under too.
Yeah.
It almost seems like it should be over.
Well, I think the one thing that we're going to probably get caught up with or caught up in by the time they actually run the Derby this year is we're kind of answering these questions like normal when this is not going to be normal. There's going to be 3, 4, 5 horses maybe that aren't going to be there that maybe should have been there, which allows for
Mm-hmm.
2 to get in out of this race,
That's true because, yeah, like you said, it's not going to be in. I mean, how many horses are we talking, right? Like that you said, like that could have been, should have been points with points being stolen. Although it is been interesting that you haven't seen, typically you're seeing him steal points from like at Oaklawn with the Rebel Arkansas Derby. Obviously, not bringing out Muth was that helped with some of these horses. So it's like maybe it's all going to be at Santa Anita, and obviously with the groups that we're seeing out there, it may not really matter all that much. But anyways, let's go to a lot of chatter for this one too. So we'll go. We were already going to talk about it, but we'll definitely talk about the John Battaglia at Turfway Park. This is race 6 on the program on Saturday. We'll do the San Felipe last since it is moved to Sunday. $150,000 going a mile and 1/16. It is a Kentucky Derby prep race, but 20 for the winner. 2010 642. Not typically, although it seems like it's starting to maybe shift a little bit as far as taking some of the Turfway horses a little more serious as it relates to the Kentucky Derby. But Epic Ride at 5-2. Gettysburg Address at 6-1 for Brad Cox. Another Brad Cox at 9-2 all the way on the outside. He rounds out the field there. Then he's got one in the center with Fidget. But thoughts on this field, Alterman? A lot of people like this race.
Yeah, listen, I think it's a fun race. It's a full field, and there's cases to be made for sure. I kind of went simple here. I went number 6, Epic Ride on top. 2 really nice wins in a row over this track. I don't know what's to dislike. I know there are certain people that really love that 12 horse to the outside for Brad Cox. And we're very, very upset.
Really like that horse
at the 9-2 morning line, which is probably you're not going to get 9-2 if I'm being honest. But I like the 6. I think the 6 is going to be the one to beat in here. I thought, like I said, those 2 races were very good. I went 6-12 in this one.
Yeah, I mean, not to get, first of all, he's owned by my family, Welch Racing,
right?
So obviously, I'm going to support my family always. But this is like what is there not to like? I mean, like the debut, damn near won. The last 2 is not even sniffed losing. Has done it basically gate to wire both times. Loves the track. It's fast. It's not, not a ton of other speed that is like real speed. I feel like in the race. I don't know. I'm not going to really overthink this one either. The 6 Epic Ride. I think you have that track, a little bit of that home cooking, that little track. I know Encino's the one with Brad Cox has been running there as well. But man, you look at the numbers. I don't think those 2 really compare. I think sometimes I get a little nervous with the Brad. It's one thing if Brad Cox chips in, even then I'm a little nervous about that. But when the Brad Cox started at Turfway and is still running at Turfway, it's like, well, a Godolphin, Brad Cox, Nyquist, and they're running them at Turfway is probably not a great horse.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not a lock by any means to take a horse like that here when I think a horse is better that is faster.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one as well. And look, I think with the Brad Cox runners, the 12 is definitely the one you want. I'm kind of like, the one is who he is with the 4th place finishes, over and over and over. So I'm not sure why it'll help coming here. So, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'll be rooting for your family to win this and have a horse in the Derby. That'd be great.
Well, we've been trying for many years. We've been trying to get one there, and it's good to finally have a real one that we feel like could make some noise in the race. So Epic Ride. I mean, I named that one. That was my name. My decision to name Epic Ride.
Yes.
That's but anyways, no, it's I do think this is a race. Like, what do you think about the race in itself as it means towards the Kentucky Derby? I'll because it's only a 20-point race. Like, it is Turfway. I think I have to go a half, 0.5
Yeah.
for the
Mhm.
over under. Do you think? I guess the easiest way to ask that is, do you think we get one horse out of this race in the Derby?
I bet we get one. Yeah, because I think whoever does well will probably, I mean, not probably, will go on to the Jeff Ruby Stakes. And, if you can hit the board there, you're going to get in. So I do think we'll have one. I'd go over a half. Um, look, as far as is this a serious prep? It's better than the one out of Santa Anita when it comes to the Derby, right? So I don't know. I mean, I, I I don't really look at these horses and then look at the Rebel and say, oh, the Rebel was vastly better. I think the Rebel had one better horse. The rest of these,
Well, as it comes to prospects, when it comes to prospects for the Kentucky Derby, only the Kentucky Derby. I mean, how can you argue that this is this is a better race than the San Felipe, right?
yeah. I mean, McVeigh and Scatify are in the San Felipe, the two horses they can earn points. I would not bet them in this race. So there you go.
Which says kind of a lot, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the one, the other, not the other Brad Cox, but I guess the other Brad Cox. This is the
Yeah,
horse
I don't
that
know.
that's
I
to me,
think
this
this
is the
is
kind of Brad that I mentioned a second ago, with like not the one that's been running the Turfway, but the one that hasn't been quite good enough everywhere else and comes here to try this.
it kind of feels to exactly. And I heard like the next horse that's going to do that is Nash. I heard Nash is going to the Jeff Ruby Stakes. And it's just like, okay, we've tried everything, so let's try that. And maybe he'll take off on that surface. And so I think that's
Not
what it is. And look, I mean, in all honesty, it's smart. Like you get up there at Turfway, and people that watch that day in and day out, they know sometimes horses take off on it, So it's smart. It might happen, but I don't think this is like a methodical thing. I think they're just like, well, shit, it didn't work out here. Let's take a shot up there. And it beats just banging your head against a wall, right? You might bang your head against the wall again, but at least it'll be a different wall.
I mean, if you're dead set on getting a horse there, I mean, I guess there's worse ways to do it. You look at last year, and then like with Two Fills, I mean, that's a horse that went from the didn't run well in the Risen Star, didn't didn't run well in the comp before that, but ran okay, right? Both races, but it was like, okay, let's try the Jeff Ruby. Everyone's like, well, that's makes no sense. The horse wins, and then damn near wins the Derby, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, okay, that's pretty, so that route might be becoming a little more popular than it used to. It used to be, it's like, well, if they're at Turfway, then it's just like, forget about it. Like, why is that even a prep?
Yep.
It seems like it's becoming a little bit more of a, because like especially when you see the performance, like when he won the Jeff Ruby Two Fills, you're like, oh wow, that was impressive, right? But you're like, well, what did that really mean? It was on, but sometimes like in that case, you see it. If it looks, if it looked good, take that for what it's worth versus like, well, just writing it off because it was on synthetic.
Yep, I 1,000% agree, and that's the horse that made me think. Look, they can come from anywhere. If you really like a horse, if the horse really fires, and you
Yep.
watch a race, and you go, "Damn, that looked really good." Just don't worry about where it was, right? And that's just it. You would think Rich Strike would have taught us that, but it really didn't, because it's such an anomaly that I just whatever. But Two Fills, I remember watching that race and saying that's the best race I've seen from a horse this year, and I didn't play him in the Derby because I thought, it's Turfway, forget it. But if you watch this race or the Jeff Ruby Stakes and you go, that's the best race I've seen this year. Play the horse. Don't worry about it.
Right. And I think a lot of people, myself, yourself included, we really battled with that going into the Derby last year, because you're like, man, like if you just looked at that race and didn't know the surface was different or anything like that, you said, well, wow, that looks like the best horse going into the Derby, right?
Yep.
But it gets gotten to your mind of like, well, he can't do, like, because we saw him when there is a star and he wasn't like that, and then we saw him on that and he was like, surely he can't be that. But sometimes, like, like you said, if it visually, don't let that fool you. If the horse like barely wins, it's like, well, that's one thing, and it's like beating absolute dog shit, then it's like, okay, well, whatever.
Right.
But when he does like something like that, you got to take notes. So,
Yep.
but obviously, we'll see the Jeff Ruby. I don't know. Nash winning that one would only just make my head blow up, really. At that point. Then it's like, what do you? What, him doing that and winning that race, crazy good, and then imagining Fierceness winning the Florida Derby really well is only going to just piss me off as a Kentucky Derby. Because what do you do with either one of those in that case?
I tell you what, the one thing I can say about Nash, he's never ran a bad race like Fierceness has, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
He hasn't ran to our expectations, but you go back and watch, you're like, well, he's hitting the board and like big time races, and he just barely got beat by a horse that most people think's gonna go be really competitive in a prep next time out. So, where Fierceness, I think we could line up a lot of horses and beat Fierceness the 2 times he's lost.
I think Husker could have beat him on one of those days. So
if we could get him to change leads, maybe.
Hey, by the way, congratulations. You got the horse claimed. So
yeah, we don't have to talk about him ever again now, I guess. No. Yeah, he got claimed, so it was pretty happy.
Pour one out for we'll see we'll track him and see where he's running next. That'll be a fun watch for folks.
Maybe
see him again. Right, let's go to we're both on Epic Ride in that race, 6. Let's go to now Sunday, the last stakes or Derby prep of the weekend. This is again Sunday at Santa Anita because they're canceling Saturday's card. The DK horse San Felipe Stakes. Grade it's a grade 2. Now worth 300K. Used to be worth 400K. Maybe it used to be worth 500. I don't remember, but 300K going a mile and 16 for 3-year-olds. And you know what? We've got a Sadler, a Sheriff's, and 3 Baffords. And 3 of them can't get points, and that includes the 1-5 very clear favorite Nisos, Bob Baffert, Flavian Pratt. You also have Wind Me Up and Imagination in here as well for the Baffert horses. Scatify and McVeigh are the 2 that can earn points. But I don't know about you, dude. It definitely feels like it's going to be a Baffert 1, 2, 3. Definitely feels like Nisos is going to win. The other 2, it's like whatever. I don't, one way or another. I don't really know as far as the Derby goes what we even do with this race. Other than get pissed that Nisos isn't going to run in the
race. No, nothing. We're not going to do anything with this race. Look, I don't know. I think when you look at this, I don't even know what to say about it. I mean, Nisos is literally going to have to pull a Fierceness where he just does not show up at all, or he's going to win fairly easily. On paper, he just looks like he's going to be 1-9 even. And I don't know what you do with it. What you can't even betting it is not a whole lot of fun, because I think Imagination is a clear second horse to use here. I think a lot of people are going to think that. I bet, like, if you bet a $20 exacta 3-5, you might get like $6 profit on it. I think it's going to be bet that heavy, right?
That's kind of where I was going, or at least going to ask you as far as how to play it, because to me, I'm with you that from a logical standpoint, that's the only bet I would play is a 3-5 straight exacta, and not knowing the odds, not knowing the wheel pays, a couple days in advance, obviously makes it really hard. Like, I'm not, if that's paying like $4 or $3, probably paying $3. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know how you play that,
Yeah, because it's like, is Imagination that much better than Scatify, Wind Me Up, McVeigh? Probably a couple of those, but maybe not all of them, right? So I think the one interesting thing, Imagination pushed May Moon kind of, I don't know, to the limit, but he almost beat him, let's say, So let's measure. People talk about measuring stick. Maybe Imagination is a measuring stick at this point of like, okay, here's what he did. Here's what May Moon did against him. Now let's see what Nisos does against him.
Yeah. How do you think this, like, the running of this race will go? Because
good question.
Because with Scatify, that's a horse that was in the lead in the Robert B. Lewis, the race that Nisos won. Wind Me Up was second that day, also came from out of it. they both have speed, but they both clearly set off of it that day with Scatify in the race. And then you have Imagination, who's drawn to the outside here, but also possesses pretty good early speed. So from just a Baffert standpoint, and I mean, I'm trying to kind of make something out of probably nothing here because that's the race we have. But it almost is very interesting how they're going to handle this pace setup, especially when it's like, okay, if you're Bob Baffert, I'm gonna assume everyone in that trio there is like, well, we're not probably going to beat Nisos. So how do we run second in the race, kind of thing. And you got to take that into account and how the race is ran.
Yeah, I think Nisos is going to sit off whoever goes to the front. Yeah, you wouldn't think the Baffert horses are going to run each other into the ground. To me, I think how Baffert will strategize it is Wind Me Up can do whatever he wants. Just don't mess with Imagination and Nisos because that's the two horses that I'm going to run 1-2 with in this race. So I think Wind Me Up becomes the blocker, so to speak. And then we let Imagination and Nisos fall where they're comfortable. That's about the only. It's weird sometimes when 5-horse fields, even when every trainer has a different horse, because they're just different. I mean, a 5-horse field, things can kind of play out a lot different than you see it on paper pace wise. So that makes it tough. And then three horses by the same trainer. I don't know. It's hard for me. I think the only thing I know for sure is Nisos will probably be like 2 or 3 links off of it and then try to slingshot around the corner like you did, the last couple times.
I think, and this is honestly, and I don't even think I think it's like a very small % chance, but for whatever reason, if Nisos doesn't want to go long, I mean, there's no reason he won't, but for whatever reason, I feel like the only horse that can beat him is Imagination, and I don't think that's a very good chance at all. But I do think he is on the upward trajectory as a horse, and that to me, from a Baffert horse, it's getting better with each start. This is a horse that had gotten the seconditis a little bit as a maiden last year as a 2-year-old. Came back, looked pretty good, but still the numbers weren't crazy. That last race was eye-opening and ran a much better race than he had ever ran in this prior. He just happened to be facing Maynum. That's a nice horse, right? So it's like, I think he's still on the increase. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, if he runs his best race, he's got a chance. If Nysa runs his best race or runs anywhere near what he's been running, they're not going to beat him. But to that point, for 2 reasons. One, if you are playing against him, to me, it's Imagination. And 2, if you're playing the exacta, I just don't want to mess with anything other than a 3-5. And I'm not going to even play that unless I see some reason the odds are playable come post time.
Yeah.
Like in the wagering or in the betting Bible, I'm not going to bet this race.
No, me neither.
Just because I don't know and I don't expect it to be bettable.
I do think it is interesting. He had seconditis, which kind of makes you think maybe he's just running with the horse he's competitive with down the stretch type of thing. And maybe that's what happened with Maymoon. Maybe Imagination's really good. He just kind of waits on horses, that kind of thing.
Because dude, he had him beat.
Totally. Yeah. He totally had him beat. Yeah.
And he waited on him and then he got passed. And yeah, you might be right. Because even the win, like when he broke his maiden, like it felt like it should have been better, right?
Yeah. You could probably make a case. I'd have to really go back and analyze it, but he might have just kind of been goofing around waiting for somebody. And the difference was in that field, there was nobody that could get there, But yeah, I mean, hey, if he runs second by a head against Nisos and Nisos fires his biggest race, then we know that he runs to the level of the competition, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, Imagination runs a 100 buyer this race again, and then still gets beat by nose. You're like, dude, this horse could be anything, but he only runs with whoever's in the race. So
I know and again, these owners that have Imagination money is really not a thing probably for them. But if I owned him, I would tell the Tory, not that he would listen because they never listen, but I would tell him, get second. Don't mess with the 3.
Yeah.
Run the race like you're trying to beat the 1 and the 2 and the 4, because second place in the stakes race is kind of life-changing for me. So do that, right? That's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I would do it.
Don't be a hero, Dettori, okay?
Right? Yeah. Be a hero to me.
Yeah. Yeah. If you get second, I'll count it as a win because no one's going to be, it's almost like the 3's not even in the race, really. So, but
That's
that's
how
what's
I'd approach
interesting
it.
about it because the style, I almost think that Nisos will be behind him, but he draws outside. So will he not, will he try to track instead Nisos? Will Imagination kind of try to be like sit off of him even? I don't know. I could see the 5 going though, at least being forwardly placed.
Yeah, I can see that.
So
And if he does, I mean, the easiest way to get second for me would be if you can fall out there on a lead by yourself, you'll hold on against the other ones, right? So if that's how it's going to unfold, go ahead, take the lead, and
yeah.
maybe he gets brave. I don't.
Well, listen, I think Bob Effort's like, okay, wind me up. We're just going to run him in every single stakes race we can and see if he ever runs well. Like, you can't even consider him as oh, if he's in this race. I mean, sure. I mean, we've seen Baffert horses do it before. Like they run up there and win the thing or run well. It certainly could happen because it's Bob Baffert. But I don't take him in the race like, oh, he must really like him. He keeps giving him a shot. I think he's just running the middle of these races. To me, Imagination is the one where it's like, oh, he's the one that's kind of coming into the race. So if you are going to try, to me, the point of that I'm trying to make is like, if I think from a tactical standpoint to like, here's how you do it, it's probably more considerations on the 5 than it is the 2. But still, I mean, I'm trying to make up reasons to try to beat Nisos, but I still think Nisos is the horse. And I think we're all going to be depressed after the race thinking, man, my goodness, because, this will be on Sunday. So we've seen Saturday's events. They'll probably be sitting here saying, wow, isn't it a shame that this horse can't run in the Kentucky Derby? It's the theme of the Preakness, right?
If it sets up like it did the last time we had the 3 or 4 preps on the same day where we kind of saw a bunch of and then he does that on Sunday, I agree. Everybody's going to be crying.
Well, I guess the over-under is 0. So how about Preakness horses? 1? I mean,
I don't know what the strategy is going to be for him. I don't know if he's just going to load up that entry box. And if he does, we could see 5 or 6, but I would say 2, because the night you drafted Imagination, I thought in my head, now I wanted that one, so I still think he's a decent horse. I think he could get himself to the Preakness. So I'll say 2.
Yeah. And that's one of those, it's frustrating because, I mean, gosh, wind me up, maybe even get in. I mean, in normal years, right? Like, but certainly the 3 and certainly the 5, in my opinion, are good enough horses. Well, we know the 3 is, but to get to the Derby, right? I mean, so that's unfortunate, but for our purposes in our league, I still get points, hopefully. So, hey, you know what? You get what's second in this race? 25 in our league.
Yeah, for our league, you get 25, and so I mean,
only got to beat 3 horses.
Yeah, and so Timberlake and Imagination really. I mean, you're in a great shape. What are you, like 3rd? I think you're 3rd now.
Yeah. And drafted a filly in the first round. I'll take it. So,
and that filly that you dropped may win a graded stakes race this weekend. So,
yeah, exactly. And the one I dropped her for, might be in the Florida Derby next. So, with Shug, we're definitely going to take our time. We're gonna work our way there. We're working our way backwards from the Breeders' Cup. Actually, is what we're doing. So, not the Kentucky Derby.
Yep.
So but no, it's things are looking up. I mean, there's certainly worse teams for how I drafted. So we'll take it. We will take it. I don't have any Derby winners, but I have some runners at least. So.
Oh, for sure. And it looked like so strong, Kelby, Evil Stevel, they were going to run away with it. And now, I mean, I don't think they will be ahead by the end of this weekend.
Isn't that crazy? They're falling apart, man.
I mean, their horses have just went backwards. So I think Dr. Tang and Miranda will probably be first because they have Nisos. And if he wins, that's going to get him up to 81 points. I don't think anybody will be able to catch them this weekend.
Scotty, you can't keep a champion down. I tried to give you guys the advantage by drafting a filly in the first round. Now, I told Halterman the other day, I was like, the one horse I'll be pissed about is if Dornick comes this weekend. This looks like a monster because that's obviously the one. I was between Dornick and the maiden special weight Colt for Pletcher. Just turned out it was on a colt. But still, that's kind of that was my process, and I still opted. I was like, yeah, no, I'll take the Pletcher. Yeah, So if Dornick comes back and looks awesome, then I'll be a little pissed. But other than that, I'm not too concerned about the how the draft went. So. But all right, Halter and I are both on the 3 NISOs that will earn 0 points towards the Kentucky Derby.
Man.
Oh, boy. Hey, the first round went worse for other teams in the league. I know that much. Hey, Kevin.
Most.
It's Kevin. Well, the early shows are better for us, so it's when we can. But I'm sorry you can't listen in as well. But you could always listen back, watch it back on YouTube, and comment, and we'll comment on it. It's not as fun. But Kevin wants to know some ideas.
Ooh.
For a derby party with a group of guys. It's my bachelor party weekend. Great weekend, by the way, to have that. 95% non-horse racing gamblers, but they are sports gamblers. What games could I do? Oh, man. Obviously, the one that you have to do. Are you going to be? Is it just like where are you guys going to be? Is it like are you going to be betting somewhere? Or are you going to just be at the bar or what? But you got to do the pool, right? The betting pool. Yep. For bettors, you have everybody, whatever you guys want to come up with, depends on what their pockets look like. But everyone chips in $20 or whatever, and then you draw numbers, and simply, you either do a draft and you let them draft, or you just simply put 20. If there's 20 horses in the race, 1 through 20, everybody draws and gets their horses, and that's their rooting interest. That's it.
Yep.
To me, that's what when Halter and I, before racing dudes have, and even after a little bit. Then we started going to the Derby, and we were just so busy on Kentucky Derby Day that we had to stop doing the parties. But we used to throw epic Kentucky Derby parties, just so much fun. And that's one thing we would do, and we'd always have our family and stuff there that didn't watch racing, and that was their way to kind of, and Halterman, we'd have people that knew nothing about it, but they were psyched up betting about and we'd be like, and then Halterman and I would chime in, oh, you have the one, that horse can't win because he's on the rail, or you have the 5 that I love that horse, that's my top pick, so you have it kind of gets them interested in a race, because let's be honest, Kevin, you're not going to get them to be excited by the details of the race. You got to just get them to root for somebody.
Can I trade with you, Kevin? You could sit here on the computer for 18 hours that day, and I'll hang out in Burlington, Vermont. That sounds great. Right? What a great place to have a bachelor party. I love Burlington. That's awesome. I don't know if you can do it. I don't know if there's a place where you could get printed tickets, but just bet $5 to win on every horse in the race and print off the 20 tickets and then have them draw it out of a hat. That we did that one year too, and that's fun. And so,
remember the? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, so you draw it out, and hey, you got whoever the 5, and it's got $5 to win, and they're sitting there at 30 to 1 or something. Then they got a big rooting interest without having to really know what's going on.
You remember that we used to do there were a few years where we would, especially when we got to be degenerates, we would bet the whole undercard too.
Yeah.
But with we would say there was a group of 6 of us that wanted to do it or whatever. Every single race we would, in it, we weren't doing 20, we might do $5 or whatever person. Same thing though. You there's 8 horses in the race, you draw numbers, everyone draws a number. If no one wins that race, then the money stays in the pool. It's just to me, it's just a fun way to keep people involved, and they're obviously going to be have interest if there's money on the line. So,
right, yeah, no, I agree with that as well. I mean, basically, what you got to do is you have to approach it okay, these people don't know anything about it, so but you said they're gamblers, so let's get money involved with as easy of a kind of a thought process of it. Maybe you give them a little bit of strategy, but the strategy is more like wagering strategy than let me look at these past performances. And I think people have fun. The one thing we've learned over the years is you give that person a ticket in their hands, and they're like, if X happens, I win this much money. They're into it, right? That's probably the best way to get people into it is okay, don't worry about the horses or anything. Here's this ticket or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm going to win if this horse does this. And so I think that's your best bet.
Well, I think too, in this kind of situation, and it's kind of like how when we have our parties, you got to know that this is the day of, they aren't going to be they don't care who these horses are or who cares, right? So just make it as random as you can in terms
Mhm.
of everyone has an interest, maybe, and it's like and that's the fun of it. It's like, oh, you got that horse is 15-1 or whatever, it's like that horse probably won't win, but that's who you have, and um,
Yeah.
depending on how many people you have, it can be a fun way to get everyone involved.
Yeah.
And
I
if no
mean,
one wins, like you say, you could have it culminate to the Kentucky Derby
mhm.
if you wanted to do something like that. Or you guys could all, Kevin, I know you are degenerate like we are, and you have an account, so you could always pool. That would be another option, like pool money together and say everyone chip in. You guys do like a show parlay or something like that throughout the day, just because that's some people do. I hate show parlays, but some people do
Oh,
that, and it's like gives them something to root for throughout the day if it's like actually related to the betting part of it, not just what I mean, not just the randomness of it. But I don't know. There's 1,000 things you could do.
so I got a show parlay. I wouldn't do the show parlay, honestly. I think I've done those for like 15, 20 years now. And I think, well, not
You have,
20, but
well, the one time we actually
once.
had success with it, your dad and I made us cash out early. So
Yep, that's true. That's true as well. But we did win a lot of money that day. But I was invited to do one with the Von Hemels and their friends for
did you say no?
Saturday. Kelly starts it off, loses. So then we rebuy in, and I think it went probably 4 races, and it got to Kelby. Kelby loses. So don't do it with the Von Hemels. they lose on the show
Remember that there was
parlays.
that one day. Remember that one, like we weren't a part of it, but remember that one day, like
Yep.
that group of guys like just made like
Yep.
thousands of dollars off the show parlay that day.
Oh, I heard those stories. I've heard them for
Yeah,
years.
they
And
never
I
have been
remember that
worse
year they
also.
did it and how crazy all those guys were going. I thought, man, they're all right. I'm going to get to do this. This could be a lot of fun. And I was super nervous because I thought I'm going to lose this first time. And I won. I got through mine. I thought, okay, it's Kelby's turn. And then we were walking back from the barns to the track, and we were watching the race. You couldn't really see what happened, but you could see the top 3 finishers. He goes, well, we just lost it. So, yeah, that's great. So your dad screws us and then you screw us. So no. Oh well, what are you gonna do?
Well, it's hopefully there'll be some good ideas though for you, Kevin.
Yep.
Like the biggest thing is have the smallest amount of barrier of entry for these guys, and like make it as thoughtless, as possible, just to have fun.
Yep.
They're rooting for this X horse or whatever, and leave it at that. So especially if we have a year like we had last year and the craziness, those Derby days, there's always a couple upsets within that. And with the Derby, it's fun because if you have, I don't know how many people you got going, knowing you've got about 20 people because you're so popular. But
I was gonna say 3, but
I almost said that. But, so maybe
sure,
one person
20.
only get every one. There's only one horse for it. But if you only have 3, like Halterman's suggesting, because I turned down the invite, I know Halterman probably did too.
I didn't get it.
You could, each person could get a couple, right? So that makes it a little fun too. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I forgot we're friends. Yeah, you're not. Yeah. Kevin's on my team. I always forget about that. So
Right. Yeah, I do too.
I never ask him about the strategy. Although I probably should. So
You're doing fine. Just keep doing what you're doing.
all right, guys, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racenews.com for our premium picks. And of course, our betting Bible at racingdudes.com on the products page. Best bets as well. Go check out the best bets. We'll have those this weekend. But the betting Bible is available now. Look for the final version to be out by tomorrow morning or late tonight. We're still obviously working on that. Races are coming out just now, right? So people have to always keep that in mind with we're not going to put out a product if we don't know the full fields, the odds, all the things. And with racing, obviously they don't help us out too much usually. So we have to wait till the last minute. So that's why there's always a delay there. But you'll always see the one come out by Friday. The next one will come out on Saturday morning after scratches. So always be on the lookout for that email in the morning on Saturdays as well with the update. We're on Twitter at Racing_Dudes, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. So make sure you check out all the socials. The Discord, if you guys haven't seen it, go check out the Discord. Fun, little entertaining. I don't know what the word I want to look for. It's interesting, but a lot of categories, a lot of people on the Discord. So if you go to any of our socials and our link tree there, you can see the link to the Discord. But make sure you go join the Discord. It's free. It's basically just a way to stay in touch with us and all the big fans at Racing Dudes and talk about horse racing and all the other stuff. So the Magic Mike show will be on later this afternoon, doing the Gulfstream Park pick 5, I think, right? Late pick 5.
Yep.
And when are you and your dad going? You guys going at 5 or are you done?
Yeah, we're gonna go at 5. We'll go on after Magic Mike today. So yeah, and we're gonna be talking about college basketball, and we're gonna talk about Major League Baseball. We're gonna preview the season, so it should be good.
Wow, shit, man, we're almost there.
It's about a month away.
Are you excited? You're a baseball guy now, so are you excited?
I am excited. Yeah, it should. I hope the regular season is as good as it was last year, because it really was good. So hopefully it's as good. And I'm excited. I'm all in on racing and hockey right now, though. Got the hockey going, so it's hard to think about baseball yet, but it's getting close.
How'd your team do? Your I don't know what you call it. The team you manage.
My team. What are you talking about?
You know, like when we were at the Breeders' Cup, you were playing that game where you were like managing a team. Did you win the World Series?
Oh, on that game? Yeah. No, I've won a couple. Yeah.
Oh wow, look at you.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what are you talking about?
I got really invested in that, so I wanted to see how they did. How many?
Yeah, they did. I ended up playing. I think I'm on like season 11 now. So
you got like a dynasty going here now.
Yep, got a dynasty going now, and I've noticed I'm either very good or very bad every year. So,
Shoddy, has anybody been banned from the Discord yet? I saw some threats the other day, but I didn't know if it actually happened yet.
I know there's been timeouts. I know Rodney got put in timeout, and I think Michael's got put in timeout twice. And I know Magic was really pissed last night at Michael. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that was I was like, holy shit, man. I missed something.
He was mad. He was really mad at Michael, but I did hear what the comment was. It didn't make me quite as mad.
Yeah, when I heard it, I thought I thought two things when I saw the comment. It was one, who even says that?
Right.
Like, not even don't forget the fact that it's offensive, right? Just
I didn't know what he was talking about for a while.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And then 2, you're like, yeah, dude, like, come on. There's like 3 phrases in there you can't say.
Yeah, no, it was wrong. It was to be fair, he needed a timeout for sure. He did, but I wasn't like overly like, I'm gonna ban this person and never talk to him again either.
Yeah, it was.
And Rodney, honestly, 99% of the time, Rodney's fine. But there are just moments where Rodney loses his mind over nothing.
I think he's got some anger issues. Yeah.
Yes. 99% of the time, Rodney's in there trying to handicap and help, other people. And I love it. But there's moments where it's like, bro, like, I don't know what your deal is. You're so mad for no reason. Like he got so mad at Michael because he liked Bookham Dano in the Saudi Derby. And it's like, dude, like, A, he can like whoever he wants, and B, like, he's on his fantasy team. Like, chill out for a second, So anyway.
Yeah, it was him too that was so pissed about the morning line, right?
Oh, he was so mad that Encino was 9-2 in the Battaglia, and it's like, man, like, what do you like? It's Brad Cox. The horse just won on that surface. Like, he fits in numbers wise. Like, what did you want him to do? Like, he's one of the top 2 or 3 choices in that race, no doubt.
Yeah, Kevin, that's the best thing about the app. I check it when I want to, right?
Yeah.
And so if it's
100%,
if it's becoming like a little much, I just don't look at it for like a couple days, right? So it's just. And it doesn't alert me, not get anything, So I can literally, I feel like, go in on it when I want to, and if I need to catch up, I can just click on that channel and let the notification thing go away, and I'm done. I don't even have to update it. So So yeah, Discord guys. I don't know if we're painting a good picture for it, but I swear,
no, I mean it's good.
Lots of questions that will always being asked and comments, and obviously Halterman's on there. Talking about his different strategies and things like that, so it is a good resource for sure.
Yeah, no, and like I said, a lot of those guys that we're talking about do contribute good things to it. Yeah, so overall it's been really good. It's just we gotta we got to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, you're gonna. There's yeah. All right, guys, that's all the time we have. You guys, remember, stick around for the Magic Mike show and the Dudes Who Bet, who'll be talking later about some baseball action. And of course, there's always a good Papa Dude comment or two. So until next time, guys, good luck this weekend and good luck in all the Derby preps.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.